Okay, so my purpose of doing these videos is to make politics understandable and relatable for everyone from any walk of life. So in that, there's bound to be some boring ones sometimes. This will be one of those times. I am slowly but surely getting through the healthcare bill. It's 149 pages long, so we're hacking away at it. Before I do a video on the healthcare bill, I do want to do a few videos that'll make it easier for everyone to be on the same page when we want to have that discussion. So tonight we're going to talk about lobbyists and what lobbyists do. You can be a lobbyist for the Girl Scouts. You can be a lobbyist for the oil industry. Lobbyists come in all shapes and sizes. Lobbyists are representatives for different companies, special interest groups, organizations, or even individuals. You can hire a lobbyist from a lobbyist firm to go to Washington and lobby for whatever you're interested in. Lobbyists are usually people with a lot of government connections. There have been over 400 lawmakers that have gone on to be lobbyists in recent years. Congressmen and women do need lobbyists a lot of times, even when they're starting out in Congress, because lobbyists are able to research and present unbiased facts to a congressperson when they don't have enough time to do the research themselves. If you're looking into a healthcare bill, for example, you might want to consult a medical device lobbyist, physicians union lobbyist, pharmaceutical lobbyists, all kinds of lobbyists. Lobbyists also provide opinions and suggestions to bills. They can even write legislature sometimes, present it to a congressperson, and that congressperson will take it to Congress as their own. So basically, sometimes lobbyists write laws. They oftentimes attend congressional hearings and are constantly analyzing different legislation to make sure that nothing gets by that will affect their industry. Although not all lobbyists are bad lobbyists, you can imagine that the companies and industries with the most amount of money have the most lobbyists, which means they have the most political influence. Government officials are not allowed to accept gifts from lobbyists. However, they are allowed to host fundraisers for them or introduce them to their unending list of connections, and they also will have a career waiting for them when they're done with Congress. That's what they call the revolving door, is you serve in Congress and then you become a lobbyist, and then you're still in Washington affecting legislature. All lobbyists must register as lobbyists. If you are working 20% of your time lobbying for a certain company, then you must register. If you are lobbying for a bunch of different companies and you're not spending 20% of your time on one specific lobbying company or whoever you're lobbying for, then you don't have to register, which means you can't give gifts rule doesn't apply to you. In 2016, there were 11,166 registered lobbyists. In 2016, the oil and gas industry spent $31,453,590 on lobbyists. The pharmaceutical industry was the biggest spender on lobbyists in 2016, spending a whopping $63,168,503. In 2014, lobbyists made $3.2 billion in income all on their own. So here's an example of good lobbying. From 2009 to 2014, General Electric spent $134 million on lobbyists. And in 2010, it definitely paid off, because in 2010, they paid $0 in corporate taxes. Zero. They did this by using a series of deductions and loopholes that were drafted into legislation by their lobbyists. They still paid some federal taxes, however. A spokesperson from General Electric confirmed that they paid $1 billion in federal, local, and state income taxes. However, they made $19.3 billion that year. So in short, lobbyists can be helpful tools for information and resources in Congress. Congressmen and women use them to educate themselves on certain topics or legislation that they don't have the time to do themselves. Lobbyists are extremely influential in the legislative process and always have their own agenda in mind. Lobbyists sometimes write legislation, and lobbyists are the middleman between your company or your industry and the Congress.